Will the Senate come to order? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Aquino, Senator Awa,
Here.
Senator Chang, Senator DeCoit,
Here.
Senator Dela Cruz, Senator Elefante,
Here.
Senator Favela,
Here.
Senator Fukunaga, Senator Gabbard, Senator Hashimoto, Senator Ihara,
Present.
Senator Inoue,
Present.
Senator Kanuha, Senator Keoha Kalole, Senator Kidani, Senator Kim, Senator Lee, Senator McKelvey,
Aye.
Senator Moriwaki,
Present.
Senator Rhodes, Senator Richards,
Here.
Senator San Buenaventura, Senator Shimabukuro, Senator Wakai. Mr. President,
Present.
all 25 members are present.
Thank you. The chair has read the journal of the preceding day and approves the same. Are there any introductions this morning? Senator Richards.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce Councilwoman Sue Leloy and Cyrus Johansson, both from the Big Island. Please stand and be recognized.
Further introduction, Senator Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've all met Dave Nagaji just now with a moment of contemplation, but I have three other staff members who are in the audience. First is Paul Mendez, an intern from UH West Oahu and also an Army veteran. Christine Nguyen, who's my committee committee clerk this year, and my longtime lawyer, Jessica Fade. Please welcome to the Senate.
Any further introductions? If not, Madam Clerk.
Governor's message number 4 requests expeditious consideration of an emergency appropriation bill, and Governor's message number 648 withdraws a nomination to the Hawaii Workforce Development Council.
File.
On pages 2 through 18, House Communication numbers 66 to 176 transmit various House bills which passed third reading in the House for first reading and referral to committee.
Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move that the said House bills pass first reading by title and be referred to committee.
Senator DeCoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried.
On page 18, introduction of measures, Senate concurrent resolution numbers 25 to 34 and Senate resolution numbers 17 to 22 for referral to committee.
So ordered.
On page 19, advise and consent.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking advice and consent on consent.
Standing Committee Report number 2889 on Governor's Message number 532, Lauren Akitake, gubernatorial nominee to the Board of Regents of the University of Hawaii, for adoption.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator
Mr.
Kim.
President, thank you. I rise in support of GM 532.
Please proceed.
Thank you. First, let me say that we have 3 nominees this morning for the University of Hawaii Board of Regents. All 3 were thoroughly vetted over a 4-hour committee hearing. Each were sent a questionnaire that was completed and returned ahead of the hearing. The responses were shared with all of the senators, and all of you members were invited to the hearing and welcome to ask questions. 2 other senators did join in. So, Mr. President, this is the nomination of Lauren Akitake to the Board of the Regents of the University of Hawaii, and your Committee on Higher Education has thoroughly reviewed the personal history, resume, and statement submitted by Lauren Akitake for service on the Board of Regents of the university. Ms. Akitake has over 15 years of accomplished experience in various areas of law, including estate planning, civil litigation, business law, and conservatorship and guardianship proceedings. She's also a recognized member of the Hawaii legal community, serving as the 2020 Hawaii State Bar Association Leadership Institute Fellow, 2016 Hawaii Emerging Legal Practitioners Access to Justice Fellow, and a former Maui County Bar Association member. She also lectured at UH Maui College for 5 academic years teaching business law. Ms. Akitake currently serves as the private practice attorney and per diem district court judge for the Second Circuit. She holds a Juris Doctorate from the University of Kansas School of Law and a Master of Science in Applied Social Science from the University of Stirling in Scotland. Since July 2023, Ms. Akitake has served as an interim regent. Only 8 months, not years, 8 months, she's been a proactive leader within the Board of Regents. Her lead by example actions have been driving change and bringing fresh perspective to pressing university issues, some of which have been ongoing for years. As the chair of the Independent Audit Committee of the Board of Regents, she has been instrumental in raising concerns relating to the shameful neglect of the student housing and implementing quick corrective action to long pending audit topics. Through her leadership skills, she has provided solutions to improve student life while ensuring accountability of the university administration. In her questionnaire submitted to the Senate, she states, "Over the last 8 months, I've worked with the audit staff to understand and monitor the effectiveness of the UH system in serving the public interest. This includes initiating a Regent-suggested 2-track audit of the University of Manoa student housing, closing a long outstanding audit of the Warrior Rec Center, and setting a deadline to close the long outstanding Waikiki Aquarium audit's corrective action. I've tried my best to address concerns by discussing them openly and publicly. I requested tours of UH Manoa student housing, the Warrior Rec Center, and the Waikiki Aquarium so that all 11 regents could see firsthand the status and condition of these facilities. Should I be confirmed, you can expect more of these site visits and collaborative efforts." She goes on to say, "It is my hope and priority to change the culture concerning how audit topics and corrective actions are viewed. I would like the audit function to include forward-looking audits on the Regent's suggested projects to assist Regents in understanding and formulating governing policies for the University of Hawaii administration to implement." Upon review of the 109 testimonies, all in support of Ms. Akitaki, your committee finds that her experience, knowledge, and desire to serve are commendable. Here's an example of what she said in these testimonies that are posted online. Moreover, Lauren's deep roots in Hawaii and her understanding of its unique culture and social landscape make her particularly well suited for this position. She recognizes the importance of preserving Hawaii's heritage while also promoting progress and growth within the university system. Another said, "She has strong integrity and is always seeking the truth and fact in matters." Another says, "Lauren has qualities such as integrity, morality, justice, and compassion. As a regent, I believe she will continue to be a tempering force that serves the board as well as they consider a wide range of issues where emotional extremes are not beneficial. She will be able to address issues responsibly in full of her position. Importantly, Lauren listens." On top of her outstanding resume, Ms. Akitaki is a mother of 2 sons, one of whom she has special needs. She wakes up every day at 4 a.m. to exercise and get work done so she can maximize the time spent with her kids. Her levels of discipline and commitment are rarefied qualities that will be indispensable to the Board of Regents and university operations. Mr. President, your committee has strong confidence that Lauren Akitaki will create an imperative new perspective and action to the Board of Regents and voted unanimously to advise and consent.
Do we have any further discussion? Senator McKelvey?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to rise in strong support of the nominee. And, you know, the recent past has taught me if you're going to levy criticisms, you better have an alternative. And so I stand in strong support of that alternative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I would remind members the motion to advise and consent is on Governor's Messages 532 and 596, so you are speaking about nominee Akitaki, right, Senator McKelvey? Any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. The nominees for said Governor's Messages have been confirmed. Senator Kim?
Mr. President, I'm not sure if the nominee, the regent, is in the audience. If she is, Lauren, will you please rise? And Ms. Akitaki is here with her partner, Jason Watts. So thank you, Mr. President.
Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, we're taking them one at a time.
Standing Committee Report number 2890 on Governor's Message number 596. Neil Abercrombie, gubernatorial nominee to the Board of Regents of the University of Hawaii. for adoption.
Is there any discussion? Senator Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of GM 596, nominating Neil Abercrombie to the University of Hawaii Board of Regents. Mr. President, your Committee on Higher Education has reviewed the personal history, resume, and statement submitted by Dr. Neil Abercrombie and finds that he is more than qualified to serve on the Board of Regents. Dr. Abercrombie has spent nearly 40 years serving as an elected official in the state of Hawaii, representing and advocating for the best interests of our communities. He has served an impressive range of elected positions, including Hawaii State Representative and Senator, United States Congressional Representative, Honolulu City Council member, and most notably, 7th Governor of the state of Hawaii. During his tenure as governor, Dr. Abercrombie was able to turn around the state's financial status of a $220 million deficit into a positive balance of $884 million. It is probably this fiscal responsibility that Dr. Abercrombie possessed that he departed from his fellow regents to vote against the university's budget submitted for the regents' approval. As interim regents of only 8 months, Dr. Abercrombie took on potential adversity by questioning the administration and its budget in favor of fiscal responsibility to students, contrasting many other long-sitting regents' tendency to simply just go along with the administration prerogatives. When questioned why he was the lone no vote during his confirmation hearing, Dr. Abercrombie responded, "I did not believe that my reading of the budget reflected an ongoing relationship with the legislature. We're mutually required to fulfill our jurisdiction with respect to the University of Hawaii." He also stated in the hearing, "I want the regents to be more involved in making decisions in the first place rather than just being receptors. I think we should be initiators. The regents should be informing the administration as to the direction we want to go, and then asking the professionals that are hired to do that, then to feed us the information we need to be able to share with the governor and the legislature to accomplish the goals of the university." Mr. President, Dr. Abercrombie is proving to be an emerging voice of accountability for the university administration and a change maker on the Board of Regents. Dr. Abercrombie has also a long-standing relationship with the university. He began his career as a graduate teaching assistant in 1959 at the Manoa campus. His relationship with the university evolved, and as governor, he incorporated the university president into all cabinet-level meetings to ensure cross-department coordination. And during his tenure, he facilitated the opening of UH West Oahu campus to provide higher education to underserved groups such as Native Hawaiians and Filipinos. His verbal and written statements affirm his objectives to reestablish and strengthen the cooperative relationship between the University, Board of Regents, Legislature, and Governor. While Dr. Abercrombie has taken the initiative to be an informal liaison between the Board of Regents and the Legislature, he notes that additional engagement by the Board of Regents leadership is imperative to ensuring effective policy making and initiation of key projects and goals. I'm convinced that his role as a regent will bring about a new level of transparency within both the university administration and the Board of Regents. Mr. President, your committee received 23 testimonies in opposition to Dr. Abercrombie's nomination by UH students, graduates, and community members of the university. Committee members raised these concerns with the nominee, noting that he has not been receptive to students' issues accompanied with long-winded rants. Dr. Abercrombie acknowledged that his response was intense and regrets the reception of his response, and will publicly address this at the next Board of Regents meeting. I understand he has also personally met with senators to address these criticisms. Despite the concerns raised in testimony in light of Dr. Abercrombie's statements in response, and based on his extensive public service, experience in higher education, and commitment to public service, your committee voted 3 and 1 with reservations and 2 opposed to advise and consent to his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Fukunaga, Wakai, and Moriwaki? Any no votes? No votes for Senators Elefante, Awa, Kidane.
22 ayes, 3 noes.
Thank you. Governor Neil Abercrombie has been confirmed to the University of Hawaii Board of Regents. Senator Kim.
In the gallery, if you would rise. I don't see him.
I don't see him.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Madam Clerk.
Standing Committee Report Number 2891 on Governor's Message Number 597, Alapaki Nahalea, Gubernatorial Nominee to the Board of Regents of the University of Hawaii for adoption.
Members, pursuant to Rule 37, the final question on nominations made by the governor must be stated in the affirmative. The recommendation of the Committee on Higher Education on Governor's Message Number 597 was that the Senate not advise and consent to this nomination. Therefore, the Chair will first entertain a motion to file the Standing Committee Report Number 2891. Then we will move on to the final vote on this matter. Senator Keohokalole.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to file Standing Committee Report Number 2891.
Senator Inouye.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President.
Senator Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it gives me no pleasure to rise in opposition to GM 597, the nomination of Alapaki Nahalea to the Board of Regents of the University of Hawaii. Your Committee on Higher Education has thoroughly reviewed Mr. Nahalea's 5-year tenure on the Board of Regents, along with the statements he submitted, and have concluded that he did not exercise his oversight responsibilities of accountability, nor has he been an advocate for the university's students. Mr. Nahalea was first appointed to the Board of Regents in July of 2019. As the chair of the Higher Education then, I wholeheartedly supported his confirmation, along with the members on the committee, 2 of which are still members of this committee. So it is not personal as the media reports, but based on his record and responses. During his first term, he held leadership positions as first and second vice chair. Mr. President, every member of your Higher Education Committee was engaged and asked legitimate questions on the nominee's record over the past 5 years. None of the questions were inappropriate. The 2-hour hearing covered the university student housing, student safety, graduate assistance, the university's budget, athletics, cancer center, community college, and the Board of Regents' priorities. All subjects have been of ongoing concern over the many years. 2 other senators were concerned enough to join the hearing. One posed questions regarding the nominee's tenure at DHHL and the other on the UH budget. The questions were not about whether he was responsible for all of the issues that is occurring at UH, but rather whether he was aware of them and whether he even attempted to bring it to the university administration's attention to get them addressed. The nominee's responses were general in nature and lacked specifics. He admitted of not knowing or did not review the Regents-initiated reports on the Cancer Center, or even inquired about student housing and the 7-year shutdown of Hale Noelani during his 5-year tenure. The student housing situation was brought to light by a new regent, and board minutes reflect that the chair delayed agendizing the student housing issue despite the request of the audit committee chair, and then scheduled it, but in a different committee. He admitted that the administration is involved in not only setting the board meeting agendas, but also the committee meeting agendas. Mr. President, your committee received a total of 43 testimonies for this nominee, 20 in support, 21 in opposition, and 2 with comments. The majority of the opposition came from UH students, graduates, and university community. This is the first Board of Regent confirmation where we received so many testimonies from students and those directly impacted by the Regent's decisions. A graduate of UH Hilo wrote in his testimony, "It is my belief and experience that as a Hawaii County Regent, Nahalea hasn't paid enough attention to the students' needs, safety, and well-being. UH housing is somewhat of a mess. He has either remained silent or not taken student concerns as significant enough to act." An individual wrote, "I am concerned about interim Regent Nahalea's transparency and independence from the current UH administration." The Academic Labor United College of Social Sciences chair told the committee that not only has Regent Nahalea not supported ALU's constitutional right to collectively bargain, but also failed to prioritize meaningful graduate student representation in the presidential search process. A UH employee wrote, "I'm in strong opposition to the reappointment of Alapaki Nahalea. During his first 5-year term, the student dorms have gone to shambles. There have been blatant Title IX violations in athletics, and the system president, chancellor of Manoa, principal investigator of the huge DOD contracts have been allowed to run the board without proper oversight intervention, implementation, enforcement of fiduciary responsibilities by the Board of Regents. A community leader and alumni of UH Hilo wrote, "Through firsthand experience as a Hilo student, I firmly believe as a Hawaii County Regent, Nahalea has done nothing of significance that can be felt by the UH Hilo student body and has remained silent when confronted by issues faced by students across the campus." The ASUH president told the committee, "As a student, I believe that we need a chair who should commit to being present to answer questions of the Senate and also ask questions that are necessary to be vetted. I hope these comments can be helpful on the committee's deliberations and we can see improved board actions so the community and the state Senate need not have to serve as watchdogs so often." Mr. President, these excerpts were taken directly from testimonies that are all posted online and were not from form letters. It sums up the concerns raised by the committee and much more. Such as the chair of the Board of Regents, Mr. Nahalea, has been completely absent during any legislative briefings on the University of Hawaii's budget, briefings on the Cancer Center, and UH Athletics, in person or by Zoom, to respond to questions. This also includes bill hearings in both houses that impacted the university. Clearly, there has been a lack of representation of the Board of Regents by the chair. I also note that Mr. Nahalea made no effort to meet with senators prior to and leading up to the confirmation hearing. The Regent Board Chair also gave us no plausible reason for not appointing a Board of Regent member to the important Mauna Kea Transition Group, Working Group, despite being asked many times since December, and I'm told that for the past 3 months he's ignored emails and calls asking him to make the appointment. And finally, most disturbing was Mr. Nahalea's failure to publicly disclose his potential conflict of interest as CEO of Iole. His failure to disclose this to his colleagues as required in the Regent's policy, and failure to ask for written opinions from the Ethics Commission. For these reasons and more, your committee, Mr. President, on Higher Education, voted unanimously for and one with reservations to not advise and consent. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kim, and members. Again, the motion before us now is to file the standing committee report. Let Senator Kim proceed because her comments are relative to what was contained in the report. After we file the report and we move to advise and consent, if there are no objections, I will have Senator Kim's remarks inserted into the discussion of the advise and consent portion as well. But as to how you're going to vote on the nomination when we get to the next motion, any member who desires to speak will be given that opportunity. Any further discussion on the motion to file the committee report? Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Senator Keohokalole.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate advise and consent to the nomination of Alapaki Nahalea to the Board of Regents of the University of Hawaii.
Senator Inouye. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If there is no discussion, we will insert Senator Kim's comments and Senator Keohokalole.
Okay, I'll talk.
Please proceed in the affirmative.
I would like to speak briefly in favor of the nominee. I would like to thank the committee and the members of the Senate who participated in that 4-hour hearing. Their work was thorough and searching and critical and on many fronts fair, on many fronts. And that was noted. I watched the hearing last night because I sit on other committees and this was a busy week and was not able to attend. And so what I found during the hearing were many, many reasons to find fault. And what I've come to learn in this body is that when you go looking for fault, you can find it. And what really resonates with me is when the fault is found, what is the reaction of the individual when they're taken to task on it in as public a forum as the Hawaii State Senate. And what I found in his responses were accountability and leadership. For at least the first 45 minutes of question and answer of the nominee, there were multiple instances in which, on the record in a live hearing before the legislature, he admitted fault, acknowledged the issue, and gave comprehensive and informed responses on how he thought those issues should be remedied and on the specific action that he desired to take. While doing so, he also articulated his vision and approach for the Board of Regents at large. And at times it came into conflict with what I saw in the hearing as a specific prerogative of the Higher Education Committee to hold the university accountable. And as someone who went to the university, and I've said this a bunch of times, someone who went to the University of Hawaii at Manoa for 8 years, 3 as a law student and 5 as an undergrad, working while going to school and commuting all 5 years because I lived with family to save money and minimize the student loan payments that I still pay. I know there are problems at the university, and I believe that we need more than just searching critical inquiry. We need people who can be collaborative, people who can be accountable. He visibly struggled with many of the criticisms in a way that I resonated with because it's a type of approach that I have tried very hard to emulate in my time in the Senate and in my communication with constituents. When we're wrong, we're wrong. And we should have the courage to admit it. And we should have the diligence to be able to take those criticisms to heart and figure out a way to respond that moves us forward. And when we're right, and we should be fair about it. I fear that the standard that we set for a volunteer, statewide, unpaid board, based off of the inquiry in the hearing, was not realistic. And these are my feelings alone, and I acknowledge and understand the criticisms of the nominee. But what I thought I saw and what I felt from watching that hearing and from my interactions with Alapaki, who I do not know well, who I've met several times, and that's all, was that he has aloha and that he strives to find a collaborative way to solve problems and that he's a leader. And I think those are sufficient reasons to serve as a regent. And so for those reasons, I stand in support. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Senator Inoue?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of GM 597.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, may I have the comments of the Senator of District 24 be inserted into the journal as if it was mine? Mahalo.
So ordered. Further discussion? Senator McKelvey?
Sorry, Mr. President. I wasn't going to speak, but I think I have to now to kind of explain my vote. And I want to start with yesterday, and I unfortunately cannot
But you're
support-
rising in
in
opposition.
in
Please
opposition.
proceed.
When I met him yesterday for the first time, I mean, what was said was true. He's a man with aloha, a big, genuine heart. Hilo boy, can envision myself having a beer with him, maybe knocking a few around the Nani Loa. Good man. But unfortunately, as I myself have personally seen, being a good man, having a good heart, sometimes isn't enough to feed the bulldog. A person in a power and position of this magnitude, now more than ever, a detailed vision and a plan to address issues that have been around since I can remember are needed. The disaster unfolding is going to affect everybody, including the university. Untapped potential, untapped resources, inability to inarticulate a detailed plan down to the individual level means that at the end of the day, the kids will suffer the rate increases because the costs will increase. They always do. And so now more than ever, I needed to see a detailed plan, I needed to see a vision, I needed to see a sense of urgency, and unfortunately, I didn't see that. So he's a good man. I look forward to that day when I hopefully can go to Hilo and hang out with him. But unfortunately, right now, I can't support him in this position, in this role, in this time, given what is facing the university and the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator Kidani?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition. And
Please proceed.
I ask that the words of the Chair of the Senate Higher Education be entered into the journal as if they were my own.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Kanuha.
In support.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, I have written remarks that I'd like to have inserted into this journal in support of the nomination.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Richards.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support.
Please proceed.
Yes, my experience working with the candidate Alapaki has been very positive. He's been collaborative, very cooperative, and has helped move the agenda forward for the people of the Big Island and really for the state. So I am in strong support of this candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator Ihara.
Mr. President, I stand in support of the nomination.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, I've had, actually last night, an epiphany. All my career, from entering the legislature 38 years ago, I have wanted to bridge the divide between citizens and legislators. And I spent my entire career doing that. The last 20 years I've been doing a lot of national work because this is a problem that happens everywhere, all the states. And basically, there are two realities that seem to be independent of each other. And I've been a recent student of quantum physics, and that seems to explain everything. We have parallel universes here. One universe lives outside of this building, and I came from there. They are very hurt. I've been in here, and I can tell those outside that every single one of us here, all of you, I know firsthand, love Hawaii so much. And that is the motivation for everything that you do. And I do honor that. We are, in a way, in between the two. We are politicians. We have to make the decisions. We may have to trade a horse with a pig. And if that's what works, we'll do it. Because I would do that to further the civic mission of our community. And I see today as a political decision between two realities, both legitimate. You know, I have was there in 1978 Constitutional Convention when we passed. Really, my uncle was the chair of the Education Committee, and we passed what we thought was some autonomy. We gave the university their own board, as well as the Board of Education. And then in 1997, the governor then had an economic revitalization task force. And the conclusion of that was that we wanted, back then, just as we were turning into the millennium, we were entering a global knowledge-based economy. And we wanted to be a player in that because we know our people. We have smart kids. We Hawaii people have learned to adapt in ways that other places have never experienced. Our history is filled with adaptations. The Hawaiians went from Stone Age to Iron Age in 1 generation. Unbelievable. And then in the year 2000, I'm going to name drop now, I was a member of the New Economy Caucus. In that caucus was Lieutenant Governor Sylvia Luke, Congressman Ed Case, former Governor David Ige, and Senator Carol Fukunaga. And we put together a package of bills. We passed about 20 bills that year. Extraordinary year. And part of that was to have University of Hawaii be an economic engine for Hawaii like other places, and we know and we have faith that they can do it. And that year, we passed the constitutional amendment. I'm going to give you a couple quotes. Let's see, from the 2000 testimony in the year 2000 for Senate Bill 539 that put the constitutional amendment on the ballot. It did not require the governor's approval. And this is a University of Hawaii Professional Assembly. Part of the statement is, this constitutional amendment is necessary because the concept of university autonomy passed by the 1978 Constitutional Convention has never been implemented. And another testimony from the University of Hawaii basically affirms that the constitutional amendment would put in Constitution the rights passed in Act 115 earlier in 1997, and there was concern of the accreditation committees. When I point all this out, I want to give due respect to the work of the higher education chair, because I know when we passed the amendment back in the year 2000, and we trust, and I still trust the university to be one of the leaders of the state in guiding our future, our economic future. And I know it's difficult to watch some of the mistakes that are happening, but I believe we need to let them make their own mistakes and correct their own mistakes. And I know it's been really hard. I partnered with the higher education chair when she was president then, when we've uncovered one of the biggest blunders I think I've seen, the Wonder Blunder. And it was an example of how it's so difficult to keep our hands off of the university when they make such atrocious errors. So I want to validate the concern of the Senate, because not only do we pass legislation, it's our responsibility to guard the other two branches to make sure that they have the best people possible, and we take that seriously. The other reality is the reality of being disrespected. Not like we intended it, but there is genuine hurt. A community that is hurt. We don't have to take responsibility for it. It was not intended, but that's true. Ask them. So we have two parallel universes. And in quantum physics, one of the weird things about quantum physics, they both are true at the same time. And that's where politicians come in. We vote on which one we're going to enact. Not that one is better than the other, but the majority will decide which truth will prevail today. Mr. President, I call for a roll call vote on this issue. Thank you.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, a roll call vote has been called for. Again, the motion made was in the affirmative, so if you vote yes, you are voting yes to confirm the nominee. If you vote no, you are voting against the confirmation of the nominee. Any questions? Otherwise, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Aquino. Senator Awa.
Aye.
Senator Chang. Senator DeCoit. Senator Dela Cruz. Senator Elefante?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
No.
Senator Fukunaga? Senator Gabbard? Senator Hashimoto? Senator Ihara?
Aye.
Senator Inoue? Senator Kanuha?
Aye.
Senator Keohokalole? Senator Kidani? Senator Kim? Senator Lee? Senator McKelvey? Senator Moriwaki? Senator Rhodes? Senator Richards?
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura? Senator Shimabukuro? Senator Wakai? Mr. President,
No.
12 ayes, 13 noes.
The nomination of Alapaki Nahele'a has been rejected. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Third reading of the consent calendar on pages 20 to 53.
If there are no objections from the members, we'll be taking third reading on consent.
Third reading of all bills on the consent calendar, beginning with Senate Bill 2730, Senate Draft 1 on page 20, through Standing Committee Report number 3060 on Senate Bill 3381, Senate Draft 2 on page 53.
Is there any discussion? Senator Favela, did you have something for one of the bills on the consent calendar?
Thank you, Senate President. Mr. President, I rise in strong support of Committee Report 2904, Senate Bill 279.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, as an author of the measure, I would like to express my support of ketamine therapy to help treat mental health issues, depression, and suicide thoughts. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among our youths. This bill would reduce the cost and also life-saving treatment. In the committee hearing, my colleague, Senator Kadani, wanted to know how much FDA drugs that is not covered or passed by FDA, but is covered by medical. And there's 33 of them. And I'll send it to all my colleagues so you guys can have them. So I'm asking my colleagues today to strongly support SB 279. And again, thank you, mahalo, and God bless.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent?
25 ayes.
Thank you. All bills on the consent calendar from SB number 2730 SD1 on page 20 through SB number 3381 SD2 on page 53 pass third reading.
At the bottom of page 53, for floor amendments, Standing Committee Report number 3000, third reading of Senate Bill 2562, Senate Draft 2, relating to veterinary medicine.
Senator Gabbard.
Mr. President, I move that floor amendment number 1 be adopted.
Madam Clerk, please identify the amendment.
Floor amendment number 1, proposing an amendment to Senate Bill 2562, Senate Draft 2, copies of which have been distributed to the members.
Senator Gabbard.
Mr. President, I move that floor amendment number 1 be adopted.
Senator Keohokalole.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, Senator Gabbard?
Colleagues, the measure in its current form would apply to any animal. The proposed floor amendment is to replace the word, quote unquote, any, with the word pet, quote unquote. As defined in HRS 711-1100, this amendment will also add language to allow individuals operating under the supervision of a licensed veterinarian to perform the procedures specified in the measure.
Is there any further discussion, Senator Kanuha?
Mr. President, can I ask for a brief recess?
If there are no objections from the members, brief recess. Will the Senate please come back into order? For those of you wondering what the recess was for, Senator Richards pointed out that we need to insert another not in there to ensure that a licensed vet can supervise work being done by someone without a license, because that's how they train veterinary students. And both Chairs Rhodes and Gabbard agree that that is what that was intended. However, the not is not a simple grammatical change, so SMA is drafting a new amendment that will be put on your desk so that everybody can review it. And so if there are no objections from Senator Gabbard, I'm going to mark your amendment offered as withdrawn, and when it is ready, we'll come back to the new amendment and go through the process. Again, in the meantime, let us proceed with the ordinary calendar until the amendment is drafted, Madam Clerk.
Beginning on page 54, ordinary calendar, third reading.
If there are no objections from the members, we will be taking third reading on consent.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2404, Senate Draft 1, relating to condominiums.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Ihara and Fukunaga. Any no votes? No vote for Senator Rhodes.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2404 SD1 passes third reading.
Mr. President, may we have a short recess again?
No objection.
Thank
Short
you.
recess. Senate, please come back into order. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2834, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Landlord-Tenant Code.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2834 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2126, Senate Draft 1, relating to security deposits.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2126 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2354, Senate Draft 1, relating to alcohol.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator Favela. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2354 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2132, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Residential Landlord-Tenant Code.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2132 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2557, Senate Draft 1, relating to legal representation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2557 SD1 passes third reading.
On page 55, third reading of Senate Bill 2522, Senate Draft 1, relating to expungement.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for
No
Senator
vote, sorry,
Favela?
Senate President.
No vote for Senator Favela. Any other no votes? No vote, Senator Awa.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2522 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2439, Senate Draft 1, relating to limitation of actions.
Is there any discussion? Senator San Buenaventura.
I'm stand in support with reservations. My main reservation is the lack of transparency in the decision-making. There was no testimony regarding the amendment to this, and also no notice before the amendment was made, before the vote was made. And so I stand with reservations.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any other reservations besides Senator San Buenaventura? Senator Inouye, any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2439 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2219, Senate Draft 1, relating to lobbying.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Favela. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2219 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2775, third reading of Senate Bill 2236, Senate Draft 2, relating to law enforcement.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2236 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2779, third reading of Senate Bill 2362, Senate Draft 1, relating to ornamental ginger.
Is there any discussion? Not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2362 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2782, third reading of Senate Bill 2284, Senate Draft 2, relating to a wildfire forecast system for Hawaii.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2284 SD2 passes third reading.
On page 56, Standing Committee Report Number 2791, third reading of Senate Bill 2746, Senate Draft 2, relating to harbor safety.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2746 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2795, third reading of Senate Bill 3022, Senate Draft 2, relating to transportation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Favela, Elefante, any no votes? Reservations for Senator McKelvey, no vote for Senator Owa. 24
ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3022 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2797, third reading of Senate Bill 3125, Senate Draft 2, relating to medical care for minors.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Senators Favela and Owa.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 3125 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2799, third reading of Senate Bill 2837, Senate Draft 2, relating to the Oahu Regional Healthcare System, Hawaii Health Systems Corporation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Favela. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2837 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2801, third reading of Senate Bill 3383, Senate Draft 1, relating to long-term care.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3383 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2802, third reading of Senate Bill 3242, Senate Draft 1, relating to transportation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any Senator San Buenaventura? I stand in opposition. Please proceed.
My problem with this is I'm probably one of the few with a school district right on the main highway. And as such, when I talk about commuters and the fact that a number of my constituents commute to and from Hilo, commute to and from Waikoloa 2 hours earlier, and they use that main highway when the school zones are not limited to the time of the school, but is being enforced at 11 o'clock at night when people are trying to just get home. having these increased fines is basically penalizing my constituents who are just making a living, trying to commute from an affordable area, just trying to get to work. And as such, I stand in opposition.
So noted. For the discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Moriwaki and Inouye. Any no votes besides Senator San Buenaventura? Senator Moriwaki, no vote? No vote for Senator Awa, no vote for Senator San Buenaventura. Reservations for Senator Inouye. Were there any other reservations? Reservations for Senator Richards.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 3242, SD1 passes third reading.
On page 57, Standing Committee Report Number 2803, third reading of Senate Bill 2516, Senate Draft 2, relating to the Department of Accounting and General Services.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Moriwaki, Keohokalole, and Fukunaga. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2516, SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2806, third reading of Senate Bill 3371, Senate Draft 2, relating to teleworking.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3371, SD2 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 524, Senate Draft 2, relating to business regulation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? Oh, reservations, Senator Favela.
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 524, SD2 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2384, relating to the use of intoxicants while while operating a vehicle.
Is there any discussion? Senator Rhodes,
Thank you, Mr. President. In support.
please proceed.
We're not the guinea pigs on this lowering blood alcohol to O from 0.08 to 0.05. 85% of the population of the world is already under this standard, over 100 countries. This bill will save lives, and there's still, after all these years of Mothers Against Drunk Driving and all the emphasis there have been on alcohol-related deaths driving, we still have so many tragic accidents, so many tragic events every year. This bill will help reduce that number, and that's why I support it. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Senator Kim?
Mr. President, opposition.
Please proceed.
Until we go to .000, I don't believe that we're being serious. And if we really want to save lives, that's what we should do. 0.8, 0.5, what is going to be next time, 0.3. So let's just be done with it and say zero tolerance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Senator San Buenaventura?
I stand in opposition.
Please proceed.
From the statistics that was provided at the hearing, none of it showed that there was any difference between 0.05 and 0.08. They did not say, there was no statistic that said any fatalities or any serious accidents could have been prevented had we gone to 0.05 earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Moriwaki. Any no votes? Senator Favela, Senator San Buenaventura, Senator Kim.
22 ayes, 3 noes.
Thank you. SB 2384 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2487, Senate Draft 1, relating to marijuana.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Favela.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2487, SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 3159, Senate Draft 1, relating to contested cases.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3159, SD1 passes third reading.
On page 58, third reading of Senate Bill 3350, Senate Draft 1, relating to public service.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3350 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2687, Senate Draft 1, relating to elections.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2687 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2686, Senate Draft 1, relating to the disclosure of personal information of certain public servants.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2686 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 2706, Senate Draft 1, relating to expungement of criminal records.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Senators Favela and Owa.
Twenty-three ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2706 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 3176, Senate Draft 1, relating to tax enforcement.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Favela. Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3176 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 541, Senate Draft 1, relating to Hawaiian affairs.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Elefante and Keohukalole. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 541 SD1 passes third reading.
On page 59, Standing Committee Report Number 2855, third reading of Senate Bill 2092, Senate Draft 2, relating to public utilities.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have Senator McKelvey?
Yes, Mr. President, I have a potential conflict I'd like to disclose.
Proceed.
I'm a survivor of the Lahaina wildfires, and as such, I may be affected by this and other legislation of this nature.
Senator McKelvey, unless we're going to write you a direct personal check and no one else, you are part of, unfortunately, a large group of Lahaina residents who are a class that is affected, so I would rule no conflict.
Thank you so much, but those other 6,000 people could definitely use that check.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Any reservation? Oh, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2092 SD2 passes third reading. As the amendments have now been passed out to everyone's desk, again, they are just trying to clarify in a more readable way that if you have a supervised, licensed veterinarian supervising you, that you can work on pets, which is the primary way that veterinarian students receive their training. So I will call a short recess to give everyone a chance to review the amendment. Madam Clerk, if we can go back to the amendment, it is, well, you can read it.
Yes, Mr. President, we are turning back to page 53 on the OD. And we are at floor amendments, Standing Committee Report Number 3000, third reading of Senate Bill 2562, Senate Draft 2, relating to veterinary medicine.
Senator Gabbard. And I would need you to move to offer an amendment to SB 2562 SD2.
Oh, Mr. President, I wish to offer a floor amendment to SB 2562 SD2.
Madam Clerk, please identify the amendment.
Floor Amendment Number 2, proposing an amendment to Senate Bill 2562, Senate Draft 2, copies of which have been distributed to the members.
Senator Gabbard.
Mr. President, I move that floor amendment number 2 be adopted.
Senator Keohokalole.
Mr. President, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, Senator Gabbard?
Basically, it's the same amendment. There was a word "not" that was added before the word "operating," so if you just take a look at it, it'll be clarified there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. Floor Amendment Number 2 has been adopted. Senator Gabbard.
Mr. President, I move to separate SB 2562 SD2 from the Standing Committee Report number 3000.
And just quick check, Madam Clerk, is it still SD2 or is it SD3?
SD2.
SD2. Thank you, Senator Keohokalole.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any objections? If not, the motion is carried. The clerk is directed to file Standing Committee Report number 3000. 48 hours notice is hereby given for third reading of SB 2562 SD3. I guess we needed to actually vote the amendment to get the change in. Thank you. If we can resume on the ordinary calendar, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mr. President. We're on page 59 of the ordinary calendar. Standing Committee Report Number 2858, third reading of Senate Bill 3139, Senate Draft 2, relating to crisis services.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent?
Mr.
Any
President.
reservation? Oh, Senator Moriwaki.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support with
Please
reservation.
proceed.
I support the administration's effort to include law enforcement officers in the Health Department's crisis intervention and diversion services. My reservation involves the bill's requirement that law enforcement officers trained as crisis intervention officers, before they take action, they must wait for a Health Department designated mental health emergency worker to determine that a person is imminently danger to self or others. A trained crisis intervention law enforcement officer can make that determination on the spot and transport a person in crisis to the appropriate facility for assessment. Those who work with persons in crisis know that time is of the essence, with no more than 10 minutes until the opportunity for treatment is gone. SB 2345 SD2, which is also on our calendar today, further expands the training already proven successful in crisis intervention for proper treatment. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator San Buenaventura.
I stand in strong support.
Please proceed.
There is nothing that prevents a police officer or an emergency worker from bringing somebody in crisis to the ER. Basically, what SB number 3139 does is actually expands the definition of a mental health emergency worker when it comes times for an assessment, when it comes time for determining after the ER where that person goes. So for those reasons, we do need to have this continuum of flow and to ensure that those who get treated will get proper treatment. And for those reasons, I stand in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Senator Moriwaki, any no votes?
Sorry.
Thank you. SB 3139 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2860, third reading of Senate Bill 2029, Senate Draft 2, relating to inclusionary zoning.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Ihara, any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2029 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2867, third reading of Senate Bill 3282, Senate Draft 2, relating to energy.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Ihara, any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3282 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2868, third reading of Senate Bill 2492, Senate Draft 2, relating to the Nurse Licensure Compact.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2492 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2869, third reading of Senate Bill 3195, Senate Draft 2, relating to renewable energy.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators Favela and Ihara. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3195 SD2 passes third reading.
On page 60, Standing Committee Report Number 2870, third reading of Senate Bill 3287, Senate Draft 2, relating to towing companies.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have Senator Favela?
Thank you, Senate President. I rise in strong support of Committee Report 2870,
Please proceed.
3287 relating to towing companies. Mr. President, at last we have the time to look to increase the towing rates. Since 2008, it was nearly 16 years ago, hasn't had increase. Since then, towing companies have been forced to increase in gas prices, labor costs, insurance, and business costs also went up. So I rise in the inflation of the rising cost of be able to help the towing companies to survive today's market. So I strongly ask my colleagues for the support of SB 328. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators McKelvey and Inouye. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3287 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2876, third reading of Senate Bill 3149, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Department of Law Enforcement.
What?
I'm
Senate
sorry, did
Bill
I?
num-
Mr. President, point of clarification.
Yes, Senator.
I believe we are on Senate Bill 3147.
3147.
I'm sorry. So it's Standing Committee Report Number 2876, third reading of Senate Bill 3147, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Department of Law Enforcement.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3147 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2881, third reading of Senate Bill 3167, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Pacific Marine Fisheries Compact.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3167 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2886, third reading of Senate Bill 3362, Senate Draft 1, relating to public service.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Elefante. Any no votes? Reservations for Senator Ihara and Senator Elefante.
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3362 SD1 passes third reading.
Third reading of Senate Bill 3312, Senate Draft 1, relating to state gesture.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3312 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2907, third reading of Senate Bill 2401, Senate Draft 2, relating to feral chickens.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Senator Awa and McKelvey.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2401 SD2 passes third reading.
On page 61, Standing Committee Report Number 2911, third reading of Senate Bill 2890, Senate Draft 1, relating to capital improvement projects.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2890 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2916, third reading of Senate Bill 3194, Senate Draft 2, relating to energy.
Is there any discussion? Senator Favela.
Thank you, Senate President. I rise in strong support of Committee Report 2916, Senate Bill 3194 relating to energy.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, I support the independent generation of renewable energy of wheeling electricity. The public might benefit from fair compensation when there is more than one electric utility company. Help Hawaii reach the goals and are, of course, making sure that we reach our goals for new renewable energy. I'm in support of this measure to encourage a complete reduction of energy costs for our residents. I strongly support Senate Bill 3194, Mr. President. Thank you, guys, and God bless.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Richards. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3194 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2917, third reading of Senate Bill 2640, Senate Draft 2, relating to the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Kim, Senator McKelvey, Senator DeCoit. Any no votes? No vote for Senator Favela, and Senator Richards also was with reservations.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2640 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2919, third reading of Senate Bill 3328, Senate Draft 1, relating to education.
Is there any discussion? Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I rise today in support of Senate Bill 3328, SD1. As the chair of the Senate Education Committee, I support this bill, which proposes the repeal of the School Facilities Authority and establishes 2 offices within the Department of Education: the Office of Facilities and Real Estate Development and the Office of School Operations and Services. This move is not only a matter of administrative consolidation, but also a necessary step towards enhancing the efficiency and accountability of our educational infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? Reservations for Senator Elefante.
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3328 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2922, third reading of Senate Bill 2342, Senate Draft 2, relating to transportation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Senators Favela and Awa.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2342 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2924, third reading of Senate Bill 2018, relating to housing.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators Ihara, McKelvey, Elefante. Any no votes? Oh, reservations for Senator Fukunaga.
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2018 passes third reading.
Page 62, Standing Committee Report Number 2933, third reading of Senate Bill 2319, proposing an amendment to Article 6, Section 3 of the Hawaii State Constitution to increase the mandatory retirement age for state justices and judges.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2319 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2939, third reading of Senate Bill 2599, Senate Draft 1, relating to public employee compensation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Ihara. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2599 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2941, third reading of Senate Bill 2845, Senate Draft 2, relating to firearms.
Is there any discussion? Senator Favela.
Yep, Mr. President, I'm raising in opposition to this bill, and I want to insert comments to the journal, please.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa. Were you in opposition, Senator Favela?
Yes.
Yeah. 2 no votes.
23 ayes. I'm sorry.
Did I miss someone's vote? Oh, no vote for Senator Gabbard. Sorry, Senator Gabbard.
22 ayes, 3 noes.
Thank you. SB 2845 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2943, third reading of Senate Bill 2832, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Traffic Code.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator San Buenaventura. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2832 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2948, third reading of Senate Bill 3183, Senate Draft 2, relating to Road Usage Charge Program.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3183 SD2 passes third reading.
On page 63, Standing Committee Report Number 2949, third reading of Senate Bill 3120, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Hawaii Public Housing Authority.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3120 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2951, third reading of Senate Bill 3202, Senate Draft 2, relating to urban development.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators Morawaki and Kim. Any no votes? No vote for Senator Favela, Senator Awa, Senator Fukunaga, Senator Ihara, Senator Rhodes.
20 ayes, 5 noes.
Thank you. SB 3202 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2959, third reading of Senate Bill 3000, Senate Draft 2, relating to menstrual products.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3000 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2960, third reading of Senate Bill 3207, Senate Draft 2, relating to education.
Is there any discussion? Senator Elefante.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in opposition.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition with understanding the need to address the sunset date in the provision of the current law. However, I do not agree with repealing the salary cap for the superintendent. We are in an absolute critical juncture for our public school system, in which there is a substantial backlog in capital improvement projects funding and obligated funding that have lapsed. Opening the doorway to a substantial increase in salary may divert much-needed funds away from our keiki and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I rise today in support of Senate Bill 3207 SD2, an important piece of legislation that addresses the issue of superintendent salaries in our education system. I'd like to take this opportunity to once again clarify that SB 3207 SD2 does not aim to increase the superintendent's salary. It seeks to repeal Act 90 of 2014, which imposed a salary cap on superintendent salaries. I urge all of you to stand in support of this bill and vote in favor of its passage to ensure the stability and effectiveness of our education system. Mahalo.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Richards, Favela, Ihara. Any no votes? Senator Elefante, Senator Awa.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 3207 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2963, third reading of Senate Bill 2721, Senate Draft 2, relating to ocean recreation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senators Awa and McKelvey.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2721 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2965, third reading of Senate Bill 2308, Senate Draft 1, relating to speeding.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator San Buenaventura.
I stand in opposition.
Please proceed.
As stated earlier, when the HDOT reduced the speed limit in a school area in my district, which was on the state highway, by 20 miles, there was an automatic police officer over there ticketing people at 11 o'clock at night. Increasing penalties basically penalizes my constituency who commute to the work, and as such, I believe this penalizes those who are poor and those who are commuters more than anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators McKelvey and Richards. Any no votes besides Senator San Buenaventura?
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2308 SD1 passes third reading.
On page 64, Standing Committee Report Number 2967, third reading of Senate Bill 2227, Senate Draft 2, relating to emergency management.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Elefante. Any no votes? Reservations for Senator De La Cruz. Reservations, Senator San Buenaventura and Senator Moriwaki. Senator Kim.
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2227 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2969, third reading of Senate Bill 2350, Senate Draft 2, relating to noise pollution.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2350 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2970, third reading of Senate Bill 2735, Senate Draft 1, relating to driver licensing.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2735 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2973, third reading of Senate Bill 2245, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Child Protective Act.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2245 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2975, third reading of Senate Bill 2561, Senate Draft 2, relating to animal endangerment.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Owa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2561 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2976, third reading of Senate Bill 2908, Senate Draft 1, relating to emergency management.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator San Buenaventura. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2908 SD1 passes third reading.
On page 65, Standing Committee Report Number 2981, third reading of Senate Bill 2565, Senate Draft 1, relating to public parks.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have, Senator Elefante.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support with reservations.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. While I support the efforts for more leash dog parks, the main concerns that I have specifically have to do with the following: enforcement by law enforcement and safety areas that might be considered leash dog areas, especially as it relates to beach parks or parks with endangered species. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators Moriwaki, Decoit, Ihara, Inouye, Fukunaga, McKelvey, Elefante, and Richards. Oh, any no votes? Not to exclude you two gentlemen. No votes for Senators Favela and Owa, Madam Clerk. No vote for Senator Kim.
22 ayes, 3 noes.
Thank you. SB 2565 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2983, third reading of Senate Bill 2762, Senate Draft 2, relating to rent control.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator San Buenaventura. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2762 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2984, third reading of Senate Bill 2904, Senate Draft 2, relating to emergency management.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators Elefante and Ihara. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2904, SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2989, third reading of Senate Bill 2405, relating to campaign finance.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2405 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2992, third reading of Senate Bill 2630, Senate Draft 1, relating to pedestrians.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Aquino. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa, Senator Elefante.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2630, SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2996, third reading of Senate Bill 2011, Senate Draft 2, relating to housing.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Ihara. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Fukunaga.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2011, SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 2997, third reading of Senate Bill 3196, Senate Draft 1, relating to firearms.
Is there any discussion? Senator Decoit,
Thank you, Mr. President. In opposition,
please proceed.
permission to insert written comments to the journal.
So ordered.
Thank
Further
you.
discussion, Senator Favela.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition to Committee Report 2997. Mr. President, I oppose this measure for our local hunters and community on the Senate Bill 3196. Will negative impact the hunters' ability to help control feral animals populations with boar, deer, goats, and etc. And it would also stop them to be providing food for their family that they do for generations. This bill would continue to endure our civil liberties. For that reason, I oppose Senate Bill 3196, and I urge the rest of my colleagues to do the same. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator San Buenaventura.
Thank you. I rise in support with reservations.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, I have voted in favor of every gun control bill since I have been in office. I appreciate the amendments that were done and judiciary for this bill. However, my reservations stem from the fact regarding interstate succession and the automatic imprisonment for a term of 5 years. It doesn't even give the judge the discretion. Unlike any other crime we have created where we give the judge discretion, this bill says you're guilty of a Class C felony and shall be imprisoned for a term of 5 years. So somebody who obtains title by bequest or interstate succession to one that we have invalidated by passing this bill will automatically be imprisoned. I want to point out the fact that in the preamble, the author admitted that we have the third lowest number of gun deaths per capita. In fact, we haven't had the kind of gun deaths like they've had in the mainland for decades, since the Xerox shooting. We need to take into account the fact that we do have law-abiding gun owners, that there are people who use these weapons as tools. Hunters use them as tools. Ranchers use them as tools. And we also have to take into account that unlike those who can afford probate, there are people who don't do probate and who automatically end up inheriting without knowing that they would be automatically, upon this passage, be subject to imprisonment despite being law-abiding otherwise, for 5 years. For those reasons, I stand in support because I do understand the need for gun control, but with strong reservations. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Richards?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition of this bill.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I appreciate the concern and the efforts that have been put forth to establish guardrails around what we're trying to accomplish. That being said, it's been stated previously that agriculture views a firearm as just another tool, and we have some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. That's reflected by some of the lack of the problems that we've seen. It's not lost on me that we need to be concerned, and I am concerned about safety going forward. That being said, this is an overreach in my estimation, and I cannot support something that'll turn law-abiding citizens into criminals by passing the law. Though I support the concept and intent, I cannot support this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Kim?
Mr. President, I rise in opposition.
Please
I
proceed.
ask that the words of the senators from Puna and from Big Island.
Kohala.
Thank you. As my own, this is the first time, Mr. President, I will be voting against any gun control bills, but I do agree with the previous speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion. Senator McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, unfortunately cannot support this measure. But like the words of the speaker from Puna and Kalihi enter the record as if they were my own, because my record and my thoughts are the same. However, the issues, besides the issues that they pointed out, there are other huge glaring issues I believe in this bill, including what I think is an equal protection argument. That being said, because of all of these issues and because we do have the strongest gun laws in the country and because we've just passed many bills last year, I'm hoping that we could hit pause on this one and perhaps look at this issue more tangentially later on. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Inouye.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in opposition as well.
Please proceed.
And may I have the comments from the senator of Senate District 4 be inserted into the journal as if it was mine. Mahalo.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senators Kanuha, Elefante, Hashimoto, San Buenaventura, Aquino, Moriwaki, De La Cruz. Any no votes? No votes for Senator Richards, Senator Favela, Senator Awa, Senator McKelvey, Senator Inouye, Senator Kim, Senator Gabbard, and Senator Decoit.
17 ayes, 8 noes.
Thank you. SB 3196 SD1 passes third reading.
On page 66, Standing Committee Report Number 2999, third reading of Senate Bill 2129, Senate Draft 2, relating to historic preservation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
23 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2129 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3003, third reading of Senate Bill 3011, Senate Draft 2, relating to noise.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Kanuha, Senator Awa. Oh, reservations for Senator Kanuha, Senator Richards, any other, Senator Decoit, Senator Keohokalole, Senator McKelvey, Senator Inouye. Looks like that was contagious. Any no votes? Again, Senator Awa was a no vote.
23 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3011 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3004, third reading of Senate Bill 2120, Senate Draft 2, relating to pet sales.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have, Senator Favela.
Thank you, Senate President. Just wanted to insert comments into the journal for Senate Bill 2120 on my opposition.
So ordered. Further discussion? If If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote for Senators Favela and Awa.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2120 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3009, third reading of Senate Bill 2079 relating to the importation of plants and animals.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2079 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3012, third reading of Senate Bill 2443, Senate Draft 2 relating to highway safety.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2443 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3014, third reading of Senate Bill 2919, Senate Draft 2 relating to property.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2919 SD2 passes third reading.
On page 67, Standing Committee Report Number 3015, third reading of Senate Bill 2170, Senate Draft 1 relating to combat sports.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa. Oh, reservations for Senator Richards.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2170 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3017, third reading of Senate Bill 3060, Senate Draft 1 relating to a climate adaptation and resilience implementation plan.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3060 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3021, third reading of Senate Bill 2615, Senate Draft 1 relating to county labor standards.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? Reservations, Senator Morawaki.
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2615 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3022, third reading of Senate Bill 2527, Senate Draft 1 relating to taxation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2527 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3023, third reading of Senate Bill 2768, Senate Draft 1 relating to greenhouse gas emissions.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2768 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3024, third reading of Senate Bill 2182 relating to ocean stewardship.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2182 passes third reading.
On page 68, Standing Committee Report Number 3025, third reading of Senate Bill 3360, Senate Draft 1 relating to renewable fuel.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Elefante, Senator Morawaki, Senator Richards, Senator Ihara. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa, Senator Wakai.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 3360 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3026, third reading of Senate Bill 3157, Senate Draft 2 relating to direct negotiation for public land leases.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators McKelvey and Ihara. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Favela and Awa.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 3157 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3027, third reading of Senate Bill 2305, Senate Draft 2 relating to missing persons.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2305 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3029, third reading of Senate Bill 2764, Senate Draft 1, relating to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senator Ihara. Any no votes? Reservations for Senator Fukunaga. Senator Ihara. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 2764 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3031, third reading of Senate Bill 2673, Senate Draft 1, relating to insurance.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2673 SD1 passes third reading.
On page 69, Standing Committee Report Number 3037, third reading of Senate Bill 2605, Senate Draft 2, relating to health care.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes for Senators Favela and Awa.
23 ayes, 2 noes.
Thank you. SB 2605 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3039, third reading of Senate Bill 3021, Senate Draft 2, relating to transportation.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No vote, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 3201 SD2 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3045, third reading of Senate Bill 3234, Senate Draft 1, relating to the stabilization of property insurance.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators San Buenaventura and Fukunaga. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3234 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3050, third reading of Senate Bill 2107, Senate Draft 1, relating to special counsel.
Is there any discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Any no votes? No votes, Senator Awa.
24 ayes, 1 no.
Thank you. SB 2107 SD1 passes third reading.
Standing Committee Report Number 3057, third reading of Senate Bill 3335, Senate Draft 2, relating to cannabis.
Is there any discussion? If not, Senator Favela.
Yes, Senate President, I rise in opposition of the Committee Report 30557, Senate Bill 3335. I want to insert comments into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion, Senator Moriwaki.
Yes, Mr. President, I stand in opposition due to the serious concerns by our public health and public safety agencies, the Attorney General, and the Department of Health. I have written remarks I'd like to insert into the journal.
So ordered. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations, Senators Kidani, Decoit, Shimabukuro, Aquino, Fukunaga, McKelvey. Any no votes? No votes, Senator Elefante, Senator Inouye, Senator Kim, Senator Wakai, and Senator Moriwaki. Oh, Senator Favela is a no vote.
(19 ayes, 6 noes).
Thank you. SB 3335 SD2 passes third reading.
On page 70, Standing Committee Report Number 3059, third reading of Senate Bill 3068, Senate Draft 1, making appropriations for wildfire recovery.
Is there any discussion? Senator Dela Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. In support with reservations.
Please proceed.
This measure tries to put together all the expenses for the Maui fire for the upcoming fiscal year 25. The Senate still has quite a bit of work to do to vet all of the different appropriations in the bill. In the committee report, we try to include all the expenses in the current fiscal year. The governor just sent down a governor's message over the weekend asking for approximately $400 million more for 24. We've had a number of hearings, and we still have yet to ascertain what are going to be the complete costs for sheltering and hotels, and what is the housing plan so that we can transition survivors from the hotels into housing programs. I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks we can work with the administration to get a better idea of what we can support to make sure that Lahaina residents can move on, and at the same time ensure that we have some fiscal restraint so that we can support all the residents of our state. So thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? If not, do we have unanimous consent? Any reservations? Reservations for Senator De La Cruz, Senator Morawaki, Senator Keahukalole, Senator Shimabukuro, Senator Wakai, Senator Decoit, Senator Kidani, Senator Inouye, Senator Gabbard, Senator Kim, Senator San Buenaventura, Senator Lee, Senator Aquino, Senator McKelvey, Senator Favela, Senator Stanley Chang, Senator Hashimoto, Senator Elefante, Senator Richards, Senator Kanuha. I guess it would have been easier to say besides the Ways and Means Committee, I would add these senators. I was not fast enough. Any no votes?
25 ayes.
Thank you. SB 3068 SD1 passes third reading.
Referrals and re-referrals.
Referrals and re-referrals are made in accordance with the supplemental orders of the day that may be filed later today.
No further business, Mr. President.
Are there any announcements today? Senator Keahukalole.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of personal privilege.
Please proceed.
Thank you. On Friday and again on Monday, the governor, in 2 interviews, criticized this body for questioning the spending plan for our continued Maui response. In relation to a question posed by a senator about whether trailers and tents from FEMA could be provided to survivors, the governor appears to have responded by characterizing the idea as creating refugee camps. Quote, I think people should be, he said, quote, I think people should be a little more thoughtful before making comments such as putting people in tent cities and trailers, unquote. That was on Monday. I would like to note, Mr. President, that approximately 30 seconds later, the governor proceeded to talk about building kauhale everywhere in order to get a roof over people's heads and treat them in a humane way. This kind of distraction is not helping. If the governor's assessment is that we are not bleeding, then he should prove it by coming down and showing us. Because that's what it sounded like based off of his own budget director's report before the Ways and Means Committee, and that's what it appears to be based off of the measure that we just voted on in support to fund the Maui recovery. We need to know the truth about what's going on, and we need to work collaboratively to find the answer. I honor his request to treat people humanely. This is hard. The Ways and Means Chair has been working for a month to push for a long-term housing solution on Maui. We need long-term housing on Maui. But criticizing legislators for asking legitimate questions that have been validated by his own administration about how we as the Senate are going to fulfill our constitutional mandate to submit a balanced budget is not helping. If we're going to find a solution on this that's reasonable and transparent and in the best interests of the people of Maui and the people of Hawaii, we need to be frank and we need to work together. That is what I believe we are trying to do in the Senate. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further announcements, Senator Favela?
Announcements. Sorry, Mr. President. I want to insert my my words to be one of my colleague from Kaneohe. He hit it right on the head. Thank you, Senator President.
So ordered. Any other announcements? If not, Senator Wakai.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. on Thursday, March 7th.
Senator Decoit.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. If there are no objections from the members, the Senate will stand adjourned until 11:30 a.m. Thursday.